keep talking about Bronco Nation growing by leaps and bounds every week, and I think it jumped 2 or 3-fold once we got selected to this game.
Let's go, Boise State! 13-0! Woo!
It's been the most unbelievable experience of my life. I've teared up just seeing this.
Go hard, go big blue, fight, right,
all that hard work back in the spring and whatnot, I mean, this is what it all comes down to.
You know, a lot of us, we never thought we'd be here, and we are, and it's just awesome.
To see the growth and where we've come and where we're at and where the recognition we're getting, it's great. It's great for everybody.
Boise State tonight steps onto the national stage, playing the role of David, trying to take down Goliath.
Me and my parents are driving up here, and from Sacramento to Boise, Idaho, it's about 9 hours. But on the way here, like once we crossed the border from Oregon to Idaho, like there was nothing. I was like, what the hell did I do?
Boise, Idaho, yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? All we heard is, you know what I'm saying, you heard about, Aryan Nation and whatnot. It was just the stigma in Boise was like, oh, no way.
I definitely thought it'd be a little podunk town. Thought it'd be farms and potatoes.
I mainly wanted to see the blue field because that's what I really heard about. But then as far as me and my mom and my stepdad went walking around, it's kind of a nice place, I'm not really an outdoorsman type of person.
Here we are, just a little bit far from the place where we belong.
No, we ain't got a dime, but we're biding our time by always singing this song. Roll-do-de-o, do-do-de-o, you'll never know how much we long for Boise, Idaho. Oh, the girls from Butte are mighty cute, but we will let them go. For the girls are noisy when they come from Boise, Idaho. Roll-do-de-o, do-do-de-o, you'll never know.
We have a rich tradition when it comes to football, and that goes back to Coach Smith and to Lyle's success here and the 37 years that he put in as the coach and as the athletic director.
First bowl game that we attended was the Potato Bowl in Bakersfield, California. It was a shrine game and won the ball game. We had a little meeting on the State House steps when we came into town. They met us at the edge of town and escorted us down. There's probably not 20,000 people like this year.
My first memory of the blue field is these ducks and geese would fly over and look down. They would all of a sudden dive bomb into it, thinking they were gonna land on some nice soft water, and boom, splatter and blood all over and get killed.
When I was back home, I was watching, I think it was a Thursday night game, and it was about a team that plays on a blue field, and I was like, wow, it's interesting, so I started watching it. And all I could remember is these announcers, all they talked about was this 5'10" center, this Clayton Adams that was out there holding his own and being the shortest center in the country. And I just remember feeling that sense of pride, like, yeah, short guy made it. One of us made it, And I went in the next day and I told my coach, I'm like, get me Boise State. I want to go to Boise State.
Most of us came out of high school with people saying, you're not big enough, you're good, but you're not big enough to play for college football. Or you're fast, but you're not fast enough.
They outweigh me, they're taller than me, even most of them are stronger than me. But I don't believe that they have a bigger heart than me. They don't have more determination.
We're always kind of the second guy, the underdog. They like that attitude. They like having that chip on their shoulder, and they like that someone doesn't really know who we are. You know, and come Saturday, we're going to show you who we are.
You need to pay attention to a lot of subtle things that go on in this program. Number one is having some high goals and having some high aspirations and not being afraid to think big in a world that wants you to think small.
He was kind of an unknown guy with a weird-looking haircut. You look like Opie, you know, from the Andy Griffith Show, and nobody knew this guy could coach except Gene Blameyer, and the guy could coach.
My goal is to make a difference in people's lives. That's my #1 goal. That's what I strive to do every single day.
The difference Dan Hawkins makes is easily seen on scoreboards and in the record books. But it's how he's made that difference that separates him from the norm. A student of philosophy, he's a master of psychology.
His Zen master, Be the Bow, it produced results.
Quite honestly, I don't really know what a Zen master is. What's the #1 thing as a coach? And I really feel is, can you get your guys to play for you? Can you get the guys to play together? And he does that. You know, he knows how to do that. So if that's what a Zen master is, yeah, he's a Zen master.
Last night you showed your players excerpts from Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. What was the thought process behind that, Coach?
Well, you know my man Yoda, size matters not. So if he can get it done, we can get it done.
There's a good dose of humor on our team. Like Kyle Ging, he has the best Coach Hawk impersonation.
The Zen master seeks not the target, but to be the bow.
That used to be called a camera, and now it's called a monkey, and then the next guy comes in and he calls it a tree.
Do you guys remember when he said, would Gandhi take a knee?
Yeah, Gandhi would have taken a knee, and then, you know, they just dominated the Western Athletic Conference. You know, I think they've lost 3 games since they've been in the WAC, and he was the guy who started that. And whenever Boise State was supposed to lose or was an underdog, they went out and kicked butt.
Zabransky back to pass. Here comes the blitz. Zabransky back the football, rolling up.
Jared Zabransky's career has been very colorful. Came in as a kid out of Oregon, ran basically a running attack. He wasn't a thrower as much, but our guys had kind of seen something in him.
I thought he was very coachable. I thought he was very smart. And you could tell that he took a lot of pride in getting everything right. He was very tough and he was very competitive.
In 2004, Jared was our infallible leader. He was amazing, you know? He couldn't miss. Every throw was just perfect.
I was out there not trying to do too much, you know, very staying within myself and reacting, kind of using my athletic ability to get me out of situations. Being able to, you know, use the guys around you and play good football.
Back to pass, has time. Byron's got a man wide open, Dwight James got it at the 20.
All Jared did was go undefeated and win his first 12 games as a sophomore.
I mean, that was an amazing season for him. I mean, a lot of things fell into place, and he just played just out of his mind.
And you put in the time, you put in the effort, and you sacrifice, you can have as many of these seasons as you want.
Then the hype really kind of kicked in, and it became a lot. We were coming off this great season. We went 11-1, lost that Liberty Bowl, and Jared was the guy. I mean, he's shown here's a sophomore, goes 11-1 his first year out, and a lot of pressure, and then we had this Georgia game building up to it.
This would be a program maker for Dan Hawkins and Boise State. They've been getting ready all summer for the noise and the humidity.
It seemed like our whole summer, I remember that year, it was just everything we did was for Georgia.
Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through.
You know,
was funny. We would come out to practice and they'd be playing, you know, Georgia chants on the speakers and stuff like that.
The whole summer we were like, man, we're gonna really show these guys something special. I don't think they're quite ready for our bratwurst we're bringing to the table.
Georgia, Georgia.
Well, first we arrive into this place in the South where I've never been. So I'm expecting banjo players to come out of the woods, you know. Yeah, I'm expecting this whole deal. So we're driving through Frat Row and we're like, wow, you know, their frats are huge and a lot of history here. And we look at this one party and there's this old lady sitting in a wheelchair. She has her breathing tube in her nose and we're like, oh, you know, that's cool. Next thing you know, she raises her right hand and flips us off. And I look around at everybody and everyone looks around at each other and we're like, did that just happen? Did that sweet old lady just give us the bird?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. I'm Sean McDonough along with Mike Godfrey. Delighted to have you with us as we get a look at two of the very best teams in the nation over the last 3 years. We'll see all kinds of plays, all kinds of formations. It's a nightmare to try to defend the offense led by Jared Zabransky. Play action pass. Zabransky throws an interception. Zabransky on third down. Zings one, intercepted again. Throw intercepted. Zabransky forced to run, and he can run. The ball's out. Trouble with the snap, and Zabransky didn't get on the ball. Georgia has it. And Zabransky has picked a terrible time to have an absolutely horrible performance.
And he is a good football player. I saw him last year.
Coach, you put Taylor Tharp in. Why did you choose to sit down Jared Zabransky?
Did you watch the first half?
We didn't do the things that we wanted to do. You know, I tried to make play after play after play and just kept forcing the issue. And then, you know, fatigue started to set in.
Halfway through the game and we're in the locker room just going, oh my God, this is terrible. We suck.
That was the most embarrassed I think I've ever been in my entire life. I mean, if I could take one word to describe that game, it would be embarrassed. I mean, standing down there on that field in front of 90,000+ people, just, you know, getting your ass handed to you.
After that Georgia game, it felt like someone took our souls. It felt like everyone gave up. And that translated to the Oregon State game.
Zabransky calling signals. Fake handoff, back to pass. Zabransky going for downs, got a man out there. Caught, touchdown, Bryson James. Boise State should have won that game. You know, they had the 14-point lead early, and it's raining, and Boise State has the lead. They think they're going to win.
We could have put the game away and been up 3 touchdowns, and we just didn't do it. And I think a large reason is because nobody had any self-confidence because of the week before.
And the next thing you know, you've lost and you're 0-2, and you're going, wow. I think the low point first half of the Idaho game. Boise State big favorite over Idaho, a team really struggling, and Zabransky was completely ineffective, like he's never seen the playbook. Can't complete a pass, can't keep a drive going.
Zabransky airs it out.
I practice football and practice football. You get in a situation like that, and you have so much bearing down on you that you're just like, whoa, and you almost forget what you're doing.
There's no question he was pressing, wanted to get his confidence back, the fans' confidence, the team's confidence. And you got to let the game come to you, you know. It's like Caddyshack. You got to be the ball, you know. It's
Jared Zabransky asking the crowd
Taylor
to quiet.
Tharp.
Taylor Tharp into the
asking.
game, and it doesn't appear to be any sort of an injury type situation.
You knew a lot of it was mental, and you wondered, would he be the starter in 2006?
Good evening, everyone. It is the end of a coaching era at Boise State University as Colorado introduces Dan Hawkins as its new head football coach.
And I've always looked for the right fit. And that fit is a place that has a quality life, an academic zeal, you know, and a passion for a national championship.
Every coach's dream is to make it to the big conference. I mean, you know, that's business.
You know, he's a very good coach and a good person, but I think sometimes people get bigger than the program.
Right before he left, he told us he wasn't going anywhere, and then we go home that night and we see on ESPN that he's going to Colorado.
The next day, he called a meeting and was like, hey, you know what? You know, nothing's final, you know, until the 12th hour or something like that. I don't. Him and his metaphors, they're pretty out there metaphors.
What I understood was he's going to do what's the best for his family and what he thinks is the best for him. You know, me personally, I didn't really care. You know, the guy leaves, good. You know, we'll win without him.
We are moments away from the kickoff of the 9th MPC Computers Bowl. And
the worst part about the Dan Hawkins thing leaving, I think, was the bowl game. You know, who's going to coach the bowl game? Is your old coach going to coach the bowl game? Is your new coach going to coach the bowl game?
Maybe they want to go out and win this one for Hawk and send him away on a winning note, just knowing that the guy that was supposed to coach you for your entire college career is going to be gone.
I just felt so unprepared. I really had no idea what was going on. I didn't feel like I was ready to play a game.
And in the first half, Boise State just got pummeled. And then in the second half, things started happening and the team got some confidence, and they were within a bad decision again of winning that bowl game.
Boise State right back in this game. They need to get a touchdown on the 12-yard line. Zabransky throws an interception by Ryan Glasper, his second of the game.
I told you about messing around. When you're throwing over the middle, you better be sure, and it better be somebody wide open, because otherwise bad plays happen more than good ones down inside the red zone.
Throws an interception. Interception made.
I'm standing on the podium getting the MVP for the bowl game, and I'm getting booed by my own fans.
You know, people around here thought that is a bad season. And I guess in Boise State terms, it is a bad season. But really, you look at half the teams around the country, and they'd love to have a 9-4 record.
We were not satisfied. We knew that right off the bat. We were not satisfied. Z himself, we were not satisfied. We lost our bowl game. We lost way so many games. We're just not used to losing.
Austin Smith actually said it right after the Boston College game. He was like, man, that, we're going undefeated. And I was like, hell yeah, you know, let's do it, because this losing stuff is not it.
We're here to announce the beginning of a new coaching era at Boise State University.
And that era begins with Chris Peterson. After 5 years as an offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, today Peterson was given the job of his dreams.
I have no doubt this is the best place in the country in my mind.
Chris Peterson has come in and gained so much respect from the players. The fact that he was the offensive coordinator before the head coach is huge. The players all know him, know his personality, know what his demands are.
When they come over here to football, whether it's films, meetings, weights, running, I want them all about it. When they leave here, I'm good if they're not all about it. I want them to be all about school when they're in class. If they're going to say, this is my time to play PlayStation, I want them all about PlayStation. And I think that's a tough thing for everybody to do. And we call it be here now. We'll just say be here now. At practice sometimes, be here now, that's all we're saying. You got to show up mind, body, and soul right now.
We want to be great competitors. Winning by 40 or losing. It's just they won't quit. They won't go away. It's a defiant attitude great competitors have. It's about continually getting better every day. As long as we're doing that, we're on the right track.
You know, all we talked about was setting goals and meeting our expectations, you know, and taking it one game at a time.
To be a Bronco, you have to have what we call blue-collar mentality. And blue-collar mentality means you tough it out. You do what you need to do in order to be successful.
You have to believe in, you know, something bigger than yourself. You have to, you know, all buy into one cause.
Every single day, come and work hard. Doesn't matter if you're sick or doesn't matter if you're having a bad day. You come in with, you know, 110% effort in everything you do.
Finish. Play hard. That's all they ask for. If you play hard and go out there and play hard, finish and every time, and keep doing it consistently, obviously we're going to win some games.
first real test was Oregon State because once again, you got a Pac-10 team. It's quote unquote better conference, bigger team. Mike Riley against Chris Peterson. Chris Peterson's first Division 1A opponent, sold out crowd, ESPN.
Stopping the run is the strength of this Beavers defense, but Johnson finds a crease. Ian Johnson, it's a foot race.
The Oregon State game really was a coming out party for Ian Johnson. He had 5 rushing touchdowns, and it was really the coming out for Boise State as a national force.
He's at the 50, the 45, the 40. He's at the 30. Look at him go. 20, 10, 5, touchdown. And he scores. Down to the 1. Oh, he's in the end zone. Touchdown, Ian Johnson.
When people ask me what type of back he is, the first thing that I say is patient. He has those instincts, and it's, when you have 11 angry guys trying to get to you, it's very hard to be patient in those situations.
What I do is I sit back, I pace myself at a certain speed. There's a certain clock in my head that says you have about this much time before backside's going to catch up to you. Sometimes it hits fast, sometimes it hits slow, but there's a certain time frame that I'm working with in my head.
I never dreamt of playing in a stadium. I never put myself being a pro. I never put myself being a college football player. So when I grew up, I was thinking, my biggest dream in life was to have a successful job, to have a house, to have multiple pets.
He is one of the most surprising people I've ever met. I've never had a conversation with him where I don't learn something that I never would have guessed.
Ian Johnson likes to crochet.
I'm getting crochet, boy. Why don't you knit me a sweater? Why don't you knit yourself a friend? Nitwit. I was getting so much grief. I also like classical music. I love pianos. I love the more romantic musics.
I think my biggest thing as running back that makes me do well at all is the sheer fact that I trust the guys around me and I allow them to do their job before I try and do mine.
For me, I looked at the linemen, my offensive linemen. My starting 5, Jeff Cavanaugh, Andrew Woodruff, Tad Miller, Jaden Daly, and Ryan Clady. I mean, those guys, day in and day out, were the workhorses.
O-linemen, we're not the best looking, the fastest. We don't get the most chicks or any of that. But we're just out there to work hard, and playing O-line's fun, and we all have fun doing that.
How do these guys play with so much heart and get so little? And it's because they're not playing for personal gain. Their goal is a team goal.
He's going to take this one. He's got a slew of Nebraska trying to get it up there. This one back across the 20, the 10. Touchdown. Up top they go. Careful. Intercepted. Selden does a good job.
We've been close. We know we can get into the BCS if we go undefeated.
The BCS rankings are made up of 6 different. I'm looking for a word to describe what the 6 things are.
This past football season, things changed in that you had to be in the top 12 instead of the top 6 to have a shot at a BCS bowl. But really, it just looks good on paper because for any non-BCS school, you have to go undefeated. 1
loss when you're a team from the Western Athletic Conference, and you are history.
There were a lot of folks that didn't want us there. Clearly, it ruins the whole BCS program in a sense. I mean, sure, there was a vehicle for us to get there, but hey, you're not supposed to qualify.
Approaching the 2006 season, I felt like I needed to do something different, and I thought that, you know, there was definitely something that I'd been doing that needed to change.
One thing about Z is he's a great competitor, and he cares tremendously about winning and losing and doing this thing right. The problem is, it was a confidence issue, and this game and in life is all about confidence.
The Georgia thing was kind of a nightmare for him, and it was just like, I don't know if he ever really got over that year. I think it was kind of always in the back of his head.
You obviously play in the process that plays through your head, and you're like, God, what was I thinking?
There were some days when he just looked so driven and you could see it in his eyes and nothing was going to stop him. And then there were other days that you saw fear.
Like a lot of people, I think, get depressed just because they feel very alone. They feel like no one understands their situation. And the only way that they can deal with it is just to get away from everybody. And I needed to get away from people at times.
I grew up in Stanfield, Oregon, which is 5 miles, 6 miles from Hermiston. Raised on a potato farm. We owned 1,500 acres until I was 14. Just taught me work ethic. Dad would wake up at 3 o'clock and go work on tractors, and you'd go to bed at weird hours, 7:30, 8 o'clock.
This is where Jared played football when he was a young boy. This is his football field.
The majority of my childhood was spent out there by myself. And I'd have a football, and I'd throw the football to myself, and I'd play games in my mind where I pictured being like in the NFL and, you know, time's running out.
I think Z's background, if you get to know his background a little bit, has something to do with his sensitivity towards stuff.
His father had West Nile virus. His mom and dad were in a hospital a couple hours away from his home. His entire senior year he spent on his own, really keeping the farm running, keeping his schoolwork going, keeping his football career going.
He was in an intensive care unit for about 6 weeks in a coma. And I remember seeing it, it was just way different. Until you see someone that you're very close to in that situation, like your father that you hold near and dear to your heart, that's who's raised you, taught you, how to be a man. It's very tough.
That whole field was ours. This is the first time I've been back here.
I really wanted to buy our house back that we lost with the farm. If I'd have played well, I would have probably left after my junior year and, tried to get drafted as high as I could. That was really home to us, so, being able to buy that back, and it is something that I still really shoot for, down the road.
Two out of the three guys on the ESPN Morning Show had picked Utah to win the ball game, said that Boise State was overrated. It was a tremendous game for Zabransky. He threw some great passes, was in complete command. Utah had no answers for the Boise State offense.
He hands off to Peretta. Corner to the 5, fighting for the goal line. I think that's a touchdown. Tough to look at, though.
Gerald Alexander's famous decapitation hit was in there.
That's my little boy.
We work very hard at what we do, from physical to preparing mentally for a game. It's just something that we do, and eventually it brings us success. And it's been something that's been instilled into everybody that comes to this program.
These coaches look for guys that, okay, he's a character guy. He's all about school. He's all about ball when that time's necessary. And he's all about his life.
I truly believe that Coach Peterson would choose a character guy over a great athlete any day of the week.
There's a work ethic. I think that there's a mental toughness aspect to it. I think there's an integrity, character component to it.
The hard work and determination, all those, corny sayings and things that people always talk about, that has to do more with than just football or sport. You know, something happens to you in your life, you know, are you going to be persistent enough to come back from it? It's not what happens to you, it's how you deal with things that happen to you.
Football is basically about being disciplined. You know, you move when you're not supposed to, you get penalized. You drop a ball, you lose the game. If I leave her unsupervised, she could roll over, you know, fall off the bed or something. So, well, I guess I'll have to hold it for 20, 30 more minutes until her mom gets here. I can have Orlando or Kyle, my roommates, come and watch her, you know, for 30 seconds while I go use the bathroom. It just teaches you discipline.
I had my child at the age of 17, you know. She's 1.5. Her name is Naya Angelina Childs. It's a blessing to have a child in your life, you know. Everybody always, you know, preaching to you don't have kids at a young age, you know.
I don't know how they hold up with a child and child's mother, child's family, potentially a lot of distance, a lot of financial pressure, if they're kind of doing the right thing.
You know, you're no longer, you know, taking care of yourself, or your mother's taking care of you. You got somebody else that you got to watch after.
Sam, who's 8 years old now, when he was 13 months old, he was diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor, and it had spread to his spine. Went through 3 or 4 years of treatment, chemotherapy, and a stem cell transplant, all those things. So I think football coaches are such driven guys, so competitive, looking for the next challenge, looking for the next job, that this happened in my life and really refocused us on the important things of family and people.
When I asked him, how are you going to feel moving from up above where you were calling the plays to down on the field with the headphones on where you're right there in the center of the storm? And he said, twice a year, I have to wait for the results of a CAT scan on Sammy. And he said, you want to talk about racking the nerves? Now that's what I call pressure. So when I go out onto the football field, you know, I can handle it.
He's not just our coach, but he's human. He's got problems, I mean, and he still comes to work every day. So that showed us a lot about his heart and his spirit as a person. And that touched me, because that makes me think about the father I want to be.
After the Louisiana Tech game, actually the first BCS poll of the year, they were solidly at number 15. Everybody said, great, we've got a lot of time. There's no problem in being to number 12 if we don't lose a game.
The biggest question that looms in this football game right here, can anybody stop Ian Johnson? 4 rushing touchdowns in the first half. I think we're going to see a lot more of him rushing second half.
It was a slow climb, and people were always wondering throughout the year, are we going to be able to get into the top 12?
You kind of stall out at being ranked 15. I think we should be ranked right now much higher.
Doggone it, you know. What's it going to take?
The BCS really doesn't like schools like Boise State busting their party.
As the season went on, I did start looking a little closer at that, because, as I said, in October, we weren't moving up the rankings as quickly as we had in the past.
They were stalling because of strength of schedule.
For 4 weeks, they stayed at 15. and I didn't think they'd ever get off that.
I wanted to be in the top 10. I wanted to be in the BCS, and I really hoped that it would happen.
The only team that can beat Boise State on their schedule is Boise State.
I knew going into San Jose that you know, in the past we hadn't played well there. It was just a different environment.
You know, it was kind of a weird feeling going on. We had that confidence, but it was just a weird day. You know, the crowd was being weird. It just, everything felt awkward.
And we are underway in San Jose.
That was a trap game for us.
And they're one game away from the regular season and from going undefeated, and this is a must-have game, and everything that could go wrong did.
Zabransky did not practice on Friday, and he had chicken pox.
I just wanted to stay away from that dude. I was like, I even asked our trainers, like, can I get that with him touching my, you know, with his hands underneath me like that?
You know, 23-year-old with chicken pox, that's, shit, I wish I would have got it when I was 6.
We started off and, you know, we couldn't really get the run game started.
And Ian Johnson with his first carry of the day.
That time, patience may not have been a virtue for Johnson. That's a tackle that Ian Johnson breaks more often than not.
I got hit in the exact same spot I originally got hit, re-broke the ribs, ripped the scar tissue off, causing a puncture, or it was the sheer fact that the ribs poked through.
Ian Johnson on the sidelines will monitor that situation.
He just seemed slow to me, and I know him, and every time he got knocked down, I'd be like, get up, get up, get up.
Every play was a battle from then on. It was just like, well, I can't breathe, just get through this play, get through one more, your team needs you.
To see Ian Johnson in the type of pain that we now know he was in and the type of injury that he sustained, to dig that deep and to have as many carries as he did.
He has had a terrific night, 29 carries, 149 yards.
He carried the ball more than he did in any other game, and he did have a collapsed lung and broken ribs, and you know, he earned a lot of respect from his teammates and you know, propelled us in that game.
Boise State loses that game to San Jose. They are out.
Rolling out as a blocker, looking toward the end zone, fires. Rams got it for 2. Great play as Gerard Lamb went way up in the air, and a great patience shown by Zabransky as he rolled and he rolled and he rolled and he rolled, and he found Gerard Lamb, and we are tied at 20.
Really, for the only time all year, Anthony Montgomery, okay, you have to win the game.
I really wasn't thinking about the implications of missing that kick, as far as, you know, not going undefeated.
It'll be a 37-yard attempt for the win.
Losing a possible whack outright championship. Not going to a BCS game, which, you know, I have 90 other players behind me that, you know, have the same dreams that I do.
It is up.
I didn't watch the field goal. I don't like to see those kind of things. So I went kind of in the corner, the farthest corner I could get to, and I put my head between my legs, and I just told myself, don't look up until you hear a crowd yell.
And good! Broncos, with 3 seconds on the clock, take the lead.
And then after the game, it was like, I went to my fiance and I was like, there's something wrong with me. There's something definitely wrong with me.
I remember just walking in and Ian looking up at me, and his eyes were like glazed over, and he had a tear just like run down his face, and that was the first time I've ever seen him shed a tear.
He went right from the field to the hospital where he stayed for the next week.
I'm in a creepy hospital with a tube in my chest, and the only person near me is my fiance who stayed with me through it all.
For him, it was a big shock, and it did kind of change the way he thought about things.
If football ever gets to a point where it starts to take over my life, I can always just say, well, remember what happened. This is at a flip of a coin every day you play. Hold on to something a little bit more solid.
There's the kickoff by Montgomery, a left footer, And it hits towards Robinson.
That whole day, from the minute I woke up, I knew it was my day. And collectively, it was, it was just a great feeling. And I knew something special. Like I said, it was just, when you're in the zone, man, I mean, you just in the zone.
We call him Joe V's, and he's a guy who, didn't get a lot of playing time, but he had this uncanny belief in himself that he was gonna make it happen. One way or another, he was gonna make it happen. Like, this is a guy who's like 8th on the depth chart, a wide receiver going into Georgia. And he's sitting there talking to me. He's like, Mick, man, I feel it, man. I feel it. They're gonna hit me on a post or something, man. I feel it.
Just his heart he has, He never gives up, even when he's down out. He's still saying I'm still making it. You know what I mean? He has that drive.
He was a part of our team chemistry. He was probably the most strongest part in our team chemistry that goes unmeasured in the papers and win-loss columns and things like that.
He's got so much heart, and I mean, he's never lost his swagger. I mean, he's been through the system so long, and he's caught tough breaks. He's had his chance and failed sometimes. He's had a chance and succeeded and still never got a second chance.
I could have put in my transfer papers and been on my way. Boise, Idaho is just my rearview mirror, but something inside of me just kept me going. I believe that was part of my father, a lot to do with my mother, my past and how I was brought up, not to give up, not to, be another statistic, fight the odds.
If he has that much belief in himself, I'm gonna believe in him too. What harm could come if I believe in him too?
Denton finds room. Touchdown Broncos. Zabransky going deep to Gerard Rabb. Complete. Touchdown Broncos. Quentin Jones. Touchdown Broncos.
I was thinking of some, underused seniors on offense that could be out there. Guys like Jovan Hutchinson.
Yeah, come on, Jovan. Let's get Jovan in there.
Here's a guy that, one, truly believes he should be a starter on our team. The coaches don't believe that. Probably some of his teammates don't believe that. But believes it and works at it like he should be, but doesn't disrupt the team because of it.
So it'll be 2nd down and goal from the 10-yard line. Here's Jovan Hutchinson coming into the ball game. I want them to throw a pass, and there he goes, wide to the left.
It's in the fade territory.
Here they go.
The pass, they're throwing for Hutch. He's out there. Touchdown, Jovan Hutchinson.
But when I got my time, I did the best of it, and I scored and, did my dance, man. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. That's B's for you.
Coach Pete, he has a paranoid walk, like throughout the whole week. And then right before the game, he still has that paranoid walk. During the game, he still has the paranoid walk. After the game, after the win, he still has the paranoid walk because he knows there's someone else, on the horizon.
I'm telling you, Boise, watch out. I'm warning you, watch out. Nevada is 5-0 at home. 5-0, they're playing at Nevada.
Going into the Nevada game, even though we were, in the top 15 at the time, undefeated, we were still underdogs, and none of us could believe it.
Nevada was having a great year, and I don't think they had lost at home, and that's a tough place to play. So they were ready, they were primed from their season to where they were going to knock us off. But again, our guys were not to be denied.
Everybody kept waiting for Boise State to stub its toe, but it didn't happen. Boise State came out and completely dominated them, and the defense really deserved the key here because they got in the face of the Nevada quarterback, and they had him off his feet all day. He couldn't throw. He was on the wrong foot. Never had a chance to settle in the pocket. The stands were just full of Boise State fans, holding big bags of Tostito chips.
I want to congratulate you all. Tremendous year you had.
Now, we got to wait a week to see what the BCS says. But I want to tell you what, this team is worthy of a BCS bowl. You're going to have a chance, I think, you watch Fox Sports next Sunday. We're going to have some great news. We're going to get ready for you in the Valley of the Sun.
Our coaches told us, hey, if you buy into everything we say, buy into everything we do, come here every day, full speed, this is what's going to happen. I'm so excited right now. Everything we worked for this whole summer, everybody that's been here for 3, 4, 5 years, even 1 year, this is all this hard work going into this moment, 12-0 BCS berth.
That's what makes this team so special. We took it one game at a time, like we always said we did, and it paid off.
I'm sure the character building that has gone on with Jared Zabransky comes from this incredible set of experiences, positive and negative.
I tried to do too much my junior season. I knew that, and the football side of it was, I needed to go back to the basics, keep things simple.
We kind of reeled him back in a little bit and showed him what too much is, and he bought into it, and he did. He played within himself. He played within the system.
You got to give the guy all the credit in the world. I mean, he took a situation where he was just completely down in the dumps, and he turned it around for himself and for his team.
And we never doubted him. Every year, every game, we still went back there thinking, hey, Z's here. We're gonna follow Z. So it was never like there was a lapse. It was like, hey, Z, we've been here for you this whole time.
After weeks of speculation, it's official. Boise State will play 7-time national champions Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl on January 1st in Glendale, Arizona. Last night, it was time to celebrate as Boise State received its official invitation to participate in this year's Fiesta Bowl.
It's been said time and time again that we are a great program. We just never been afforded the opportunity to play on that stage. Well, we got it. And then after that, it's like, okay, here we go.
It was hard to prepare because you really couldn't look at a lot of film and see what Oklahoma did against, let's say, Nebraska or Texas, because they were so much better athletes. They were, the bigger, they're faster. Matching up was going to be tough.
Oklahoma's the Big 12 champion. They're huge. On paper, there's no reason Boise State should ever be even thinking they can win that game.
I mean, them dudes from Oklahoma are huge.
In fact, I remembered rooting for Nebraska when Nebraska and Oklahoma played to get into the Fiesta Bowl. And I'm thinking, hey, man, Oklahoma, please. I'll take Nebraska.
The Fiesta Bowl was really it was the classic David against Goliath thing. And I remember as a kid, every Saturday if Oklahoma was on TV, we just stayed and watched them. They had tremendous players that dominated college football. I think they've had like more than 141 All-Americans, 4 Heisman Trophy winners. We haven't even had anybody finish 4th yet. So big difference in the programs.
I've been to practices all across the country, for 10 years and seen the best programs in the country practice. I'm not sure anybody practices harder than Boise State does.
The preparation, that is one thing that these guys know around here that we are all about, whether it's in the weight room, whether it's how we practice, and then taking the extra time on your own to come in and study.
I thought Coach Peterson did a couple things that were very, very smart. We didn't back off on the contact, the number of repetitions, the tempo of practice. Everything was exactly as it had been for the previous 12 games.
When you step on the field, the 40 time doesn't matter. When you step on the field, your bench press doesn't matter. When you step on the field, your background or how many offers you had doesn't matter. We don't care. We get out there and we just play football.
Every Southwest flight to Phoenix this week was booked as Bronco fans head south for the Fiesta Bowl. The last few fans filtered through airport security, expecting to arrive in Phoenix at midnight tonight.
We outnumber the Oklahoma Sooners by quite a bit, so hopefully that's the way it is on the field too. And
know, yesterday they were being a little bit humble. Today they're getting a little bit more aggressive.
We're so proud you guys moved up from junior college finally.
Hospital Alexander #2. I'm the dad. I'm the dad.
I think Jared Zabranski is going to be the key to this game. He's going to have to come up big, air-free ball.
You've got to read it to get it. I'm not explaining it, honey. I'm sorry.
Boise.
The guys have worked so hard. They're ready to go. And our question to you is, are you ready to go?
It was definitely a vacation atmosphere, and you know, like I said, it makes it very tough to stay focused for that game.
I went down there with the mindset that the first night was going to be the best night, and that probably wasn't the right mindset.
We have standards, and we had talked about how we're going to approach this bowl game. And if those standards get deviated from, then it's my job as a coach to take action.
He sent in a senior, home from the Fiesta Bowl, which was unbelievably hard for them to do, I'm sure.
I was seen at a bar at about 12:50 by our strength coach. I was seen right at about curfew time, so obviously I missed curfew. But it was just tough because it was, I wasn't ready for that, man. I mean, nobody's ready for that.
Worked that hard 5 years, get in that predicament, get in that situation, and to just get sent home, man. I thought that was harsh.
I sat at the airport for 4 hours before I even left, and it was a lot of time to think. It was a lot of time to be mad, a lot of time to be bitter, a lot of time to wonder why.
That's one of those situations that I'm talking about that is probably very easy to go, okay, don't do it again. Kind of bury your head in the sand. But that's not holding this team accountable to our standards and our mission.
A lot of people said, well, if you'd have been a good player, if you'd have been a great player, if you'd have been whatever, they wouldn't have done it. But I think they would have. I think it was their way of saying, focus.
It was an experienced team, and as we know in life, there's no substitute for experience. So they have been through a lot of different situations. And then for those guys to also understand, the law of harvest, you reap what you sow.
There was like a sense of belief, just because of the preparation that we put in. A sense of belief that, man, these guys don't know what's coming to them.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall,
We're going to win as a team and a family, or we're going to die as a bunch of individuals. We cannot take counsel of our fears, our naysayers, or the unknown.
One very simple question everybody wants to know. Can the little dog, Boise State, run with the big dog, Oklahoma?
Yeah, we're playing for a lot of things. We're playing for the city of Boise, our university, the state of Idaho, and anybody else out there that thinks they might not have a chance. We're playing for everybody.
The dean of Boise State football, Lyle Smith. A winning tradition started in 1946 under his leadership. Here come the WAC champion Boise State University Broncos. While Boise State wears the color blue, Oklahoma is blue, as in the blue blood crown of college football. 7 national championships, 40 conference titles. Wearing the crimson and cream out of the Big 12 Conference, the Oklahoma Sooners.
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of intimidating seeing those guys come out on the field. You see those guys and you're just like, wow, like that's football right there.
For head coach Bob Stoops, what a masterful job with this young OU team. Many believe this is a game they should blow Boise State out of here. But can Boise State hang with Oklahoma here tonight? Line drive kick. This will be the sophomore Iglesias. Across the 15, out to the 20.
Probably when you're playing somebody as good as Oklahoma, it's a little bit more important to do something good early to give yourself some confidence that, hey, yeah, we can play.
We were ready, but at the same time, it was like, all right, we need energy. We need somebody just to go out there and make a big play.
I thought they'd do real good, but I was a little worried about Zabransky. They'd only go as far as he'd take them.
Play action, and Zabransky looking for it all. Wide open in the end zone. Touchdown, Drowsing James. And the first stone fired by David hits Goliath right in the chest.
The big pass to Dreisen really kind of got the monkey off your back, so to speak. It's like,
We call it a shot play. I mean, we're trying to get him.
There we go, first down. Thompson, the quarterback, calling signal. Back to pass, Broncos rushing him. His head dropped, ball is loose. And Boise State has it. The Broncos have recovered a fumble.
Look at Mike T. Williams who came in.
Oh, it was T. Got a hand on it.
I just gave him a little juke move, kind of like bull rushed him. And I kind of threw him off me, but I seen Paul Thompson about to run away from him, so I just tried to grab him.
It's an awesome play, and we were fired up about it, but all of us were kind of like, man, we are never going to hear the end of this.
Yeah. Jared Zabransky at the 9, hands it off to Ian Johnson, dances inside the 5 to the 2. Broncos trying to shock the world here in Glendale, Arizona. Hands it off to IJ, touchdown, Boise State, and Johnson is in the end zone.
Boom, we're up 14-0, and I'm like, hey, we're going to win this thing. And then they came back a little.
This will be the final play, more than likely, of this opening quarter. Thompson to the end zone. Touchdown, Oklahoma. And the Sooners on the board.
They score on their first play. We just kept saying, well, okay, if they're doing this, then we're going to have to do this.
47 seconds left before halftime. Zabransky calling signals, man in motion, play action, back to pass Z. Has time, steps up, fires. Caught by James, go out of bounds. Morris stays in bounds, the 20's going to score. He's going to turn the 5 touchdown. Dyson James, and I told him to go out of bounds. What was I thinking?
What a play by Jared Zabransky to break himself free, have the presence of mind to find Dyson James sitting on the sideline, and then Dyson doesn't take your advice, which was the way most guys would go, turns it upfield, 6 points Boise State, converts the extra point. Now BSU has themselves a 21-10 lead, and more momentum than Oklahoma has ever seen against them, probably this year.
We go into halftime feeling good about ourselves.
We go into halftime and we're just like, we just got to keep doing what we're doing. Don't relax.
The things that I was seeing, how fast I was seeing them, how fast I was reacting to the things I saw, and never being hesitant. And it seemed like I was just seeing things that nobody else was seeing. Like things that they were small and minimal, but I was seeing it in a larger view.
It was like a sixth sense. You're almost able to see the blitzes coming, to know when they were going to come with the blitzes and stuff like that.
Like Gerald said, it's just something that you start to feel like what they're trying to get done, and as soon as you get it, it's almost like cheating.
I was at my house, just me and the dog. Then the second half started, and had eaten dinner on the couch, and had left the plate with the knife and the fork. Instead of putting it in the kitchen like I should have, the knife, it had a big rubber handle on it, and she loved to chew on it. So she grabs it and jumps back on the couch. I come running back, and what'd I miss, just kidding around with her. Well, it scared her, so she, dropped the knife, and it fell right in between one of the cushions, straight up.
Don't turn it over. Get some more turnovers.
I think Dirk Cutter said, stay aggressive.
Yep.
Don't get complacent. Continue to win the turnover battle.
Boise State will get the football to begin the second half.
Offense puts people in the bleachers, but defense wins championships, and I think our defense has always been underrated.
Back to pass,
Here comes the rush, fires, intercepted, it's going to be a touchdown! It'll be a touchdown for Boise State! Great interception, and a touchdown for Marty Tadman as he picked it up, went in.
It just floated right to my arms, and it was right when I caught it, it was like everything went blank from there. I looked to my right, I looked to my left, and it said, I knew I was gone.
We hit them in the mouth at first. We gave them we had no mistakes. We were just hitting them with flawless football, and they weren't going to be able to come back.
Tadman will let it drop. The ball checks up and then hits. Did it hit a Boise State player? If it did, it'll be Oklahoma football, and it is Oklahoma football.
I just feel something hit my leg, and I'm thinking, what? I kind of look, I'm like, oh, it's the ball. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, crap, did I just ruin the game?
I knew they'd come storming back. They're too good. They're too well coached.
You could feel the electricity go through that stadium that this team believed again.
Hands off to Adrian Peterson, running laterally. He's into the end zone. Touchdown Sooners. The Broncos gave him that one, 28-16. He's running around, fires, yes! Two-point conversion is good. And we are tied at 28 with 1:26 left to go in regulation.
I think when they took their, 2-minute offense down the field and scoring on us automatically, you're like, we've held them for the whole game, and you're like, shit, what's gonna, go on now? You totally know they have the advantage at that point.
And so before they kicked off, that's when I ran to the bathroom and came back. So it was right, last, 2 minutes or whatever it was. And came running back, and obviously didn't know the knife was there, and plopped down on the couch, hard, like you do. It wasn't a nice sit. It was like, okay, boom, and boy, right when I obviously sat down, the knife went right up into my behind.
This area of grey shows a large hematoma or bruise, basically from a 6-inch knife which has gone into this region and through into his rectum.
I know when I reached to pull it out, there was nothing but the grip left.
I was flabbergasted. I mean, the story in and of itself was, of course, one I'd never heard before. That was, it was.
So here we go. 1:26 to play. Boise has 2 timeouts. Clock is running. They've set the ball, and Zabransky, a dangerous throw, and it's intercepted into the end zone. Marcus Walker. Unbelievable.
I remember it very clearly. It was, you gotta be kidding me, when I saw it. Because it was one of those so blaring errors that everybody could see, what is that? I mean, it wasn't like the ball was just off and it missed the receiver. There was no receiver there. But I'm thinking, this is a 5th-year guy. We've been through this a lot. Game's on the line. We gotta play a little smarter. You gotta be kidding me.
For the 3rd bowl game in a row, Zabransky has thrown an interception late.
Liberty Bowl. Right when the interception happens, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Liberty Bowl.
Humanitarian Bowl replay. When we were marching down the field and that last pick got thrown, and it was just like, we're gonna win, wah, wah, wah,
Louisville, we ended the game with interception. Boston College, we ended the game with interception. This can't happen 3 years in a row.
Guys were slamming their helmets, throwing water bottles, kicking stuff. I mean, guys are crying, just like in shock that we just lost this game.
I saw his facial expression, like he was just looking like, damn, I just made the same mistake. I just came back, tapped him on the butt. I said, don't worry about it, And I just told him, I just quoted, big players make big time plays, and this is your moment, you know, this is your moment to redeem yourself, you know?
He's the best quarterback in the nation, and that's why we're here. He's led us to this, and he's brought us back plenty of times.
We're still that same team. We went down and marched on this team. We can do it again.
Now, after that, that's where the beauty of his whole process, his whole situation, everything that he's been through comes into effect.
I never once thought, it's Georgia again. Not once. That never creeped through my mind. I was thinking, okay, I looked at the clock. It said like 103 on it or something.
I prayed that Jared's year wouldn't end that way. And I said, just prayed that it wouldn't end.
(28-10). Boise State led it at the 8:05 mark of the third quarter. Oklahoma, 25 unanswered points.
For Oklahoma, been there, done that.
Zabransky, down he goes, into the arms of Larry Verdine. Second down and 18, Zabransky fires, and it is caught. No, it came loose. It looked like James had it, and then it came squirting out of there. Boy, Zabransky thought he had it as well. Zabransky fires into traffic. Fourth down and 18 upcoming for Boise State.
It was 4th and 18, so we had to get the ball in the end zone. We weren't going to be able to continue to chip away.
Pete always wanted to run these trick plays. Like, we always spent time on them. We're like, what the hell? We never run them in the game. Why do we practice them so much?
Hook and ladder doesn't work in any sense of the form. When it's out there, we look like a bunch of JV squad kids trying to play a pickup game.
That's the best we can come up with. Like, are you serious? That's what we're gonna run?
They were all flipping out over something. They were like, check this out, it's gonna be crazy.
Here goes nothing. Either we got God on our side or not.
It's a low percentage play. There's no question about it. We were in a low percentage situation. So it wouldn't matter what we called, the odds of us scoring then were not going to be good.
So they were saying, yeah, like, we're about to run circus, we're about to run circus. And I'm like, what circus? And the ball was snapped, so I just tuned in.
Boise State backs against the wall. Zabransky might be the last play of his career. Back to pass, sets up, fires, caught. Oh! You got it on the block when you're going to score! And Ram is in for the touchdown! They call it the hook and lateral, and the Broncos have scored! And an extra point will tie it up! Oh, baby, 7 seconds left to go! James Bond on the clock, 007! Oh, wow!
There was a picture of me on MSN.com where I'm on my knees with my hands, my head in my hands, and that was for good reason. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a dream. I really did.
I just see the ball coming. And, it was so slow. Nothing was heard. You could see the crosshairs on the ball. And so, I catch it. And I just remember, tucking it away. I'm like, where's Rab at?
And I looked back and I saw Gerard Rabb. He just stayed there. I'm like, what is this dude doing? You know what I'm saying? They hiked the ball. I don't know if he wasn't paying attention. And when I looked back again,
Everybody was looking for someone to say wow to. Like, you just see guys turning to each other, and I had nobody to say wow to. So, like, I had to look at Austin, I had to tap him on the back. I got his attention, I was like, wow.
You know what I'm saying? I was just like, wow.
For that single moment, that was a perfect play, and everyone was like, wow, this play is gonna work. Of course, I thought Rab was gonna get the pitch, and then he was gonna give it to me, and I was gonna score.
Those kids executed it to perfection, and when they execute it correctly, it can work.
Overtime rules. Each team given one possession from the opposition's 25. The leader after those possessions, it's not a sudden death here. Each team gets a shot. Is the winner.
As close as it was and everything, and this is something, once in a lifetime, at least for Boise State fans. Just wrapped myself up the best I could and kept watching the game.
Here we go, and Adrian Peterson. Peterson has room at the 20, the 15, the 10, and he's into the end zone for the touchdown on one play. Oh, boy. Adrian Peterson, a 25-yard touchdown run.
They had 4 plays to score, and they scored in the first play they ran, and it wasn't like it was anything special. It was a zone play. They just ran it over us.
We can't lose. They can't stop us, baby. Okay? We can go all day. We can go all day.
The emotion, the spirit of college football. Short drop, Zabransky to Schumann, and he bangs his way inside the 15 for Ian Johnson. Still on his feet, close to a first down. Johnson denied the first down. Is the ball loose or was his knee down?
Look at the play as Ian Johnson tries to run it inside. There's the initial hit as he's knocked back and he's stumbling, going. Ball came out before he went down.
Having to go through the whole replay process and everything, a camera angle can say whether or not we lose this game and can put this whole entire thing on me.
There's the initial hit as he's knocked back and he's stumbling, going. There. Good call, coach.
Yep. Down to one play.
Ian Johnson out of the game. Catching balls is not his forte.
When they called my number, I was a little hesitant. I'm like, oh no, the season's riding on my shoulders a little bit.
Coach P's like, yeah, let's go with the halfback pass, and it's 4th down. I'm like, no, don't leave it in our sophomore running back / receiver that's only thrown the ball once or whatever it was in a game before. I was like, well, it's 4th down. Like, let me throw it.
Oh my gosh. Vinny Peretta, quarterback.
Yep.
Z in motion.
The ball is snapped. Peretta rolling to the right. Fires. Got a man out there. Touchdown, Boise State. Oh, mama. Great pitch. Again, Derek Schumann. And the Broncos have moved to within 1.
What was I saying about Vinny Peretta?
Everything works when Vinny's in there.
Everything he touches turns to gold.
And I went up to him, I was like, hey, I'll never doubt your play calls again.
I think that Coach Pete is looking at his play calls, Paul, and saying, okay, we know we're not going head up and getting it done.
Going for 2 was a very easy call. Our guys were wearing down. We didn't have the momentum back. Now they got it. So if we scored, we were going for 2.
The only time we've ever not asked for 2 points, Coach is going for it.
When he said we're going for 2, I was just like, oh no, we shouldn't. I was thinking like, no, we shouldn't do that.
The defense has been out there for a while. We've been worn down. Let's make this decision and roll with it for better or for worse.
This is it.
Broncos are going for 2. Well, they'll talk about this for years to come, no matter how this play comes out.
I think Boise State's offense has been pushed to the absolute limit of what they're capable of doing tonight. And they're saying, this is it, guys. We've got one more play in us, and then we're totally exhausted, and it's over. Take it away, Paul J.
Boise State out of the huddle, trailing 42-41, going for a 2-point conversion from the 3-yard line. And it's a big play. They're going to score! Ian Johnson! They rolled the ball to Ian Johnson, and he scored! They left it down on the field. Zabransky faked the pass. Johnson picked up the ball and ran it in for a touchdown. And the Broncos have won the Fiesta Bowl. Can you believe it? Boise State on a trick play.
Before Ian was in the end zone, I had already jumped up because I saw the lane that he had.
At first, I forgot almost it was the Fiesta Bowl. I was just like, wow, Kinley won that game. That was a good game. It's just like, oh, it's Kinley, we won the Fiesta Bowl.
I lost my voice. I was yelling. I mean, it was just, I was going through everything that they were going through. I just wasn't there.
Thank you, God, for not letting us lose this game and look like a bunch of idiots on TV.
Took one for the Broncos. Yes.
I don't think it quite set into me till, I went back home, just in the airport. I mean, it didn't no matter where I was. I'm in the airport, in the bathroom. If I had anything Boise State on, people were just like, oh my God, that was the best game I've ever seen in my life.
Exactly, that's what I've been telling everybody. If I didn't hit the ball, or the ball didn't hit me, it wouldn't have been the best game like NCAA football ever has been.
We'd just like to thank ESPN and the wonderful college football fans throughout the country. We'd specifically like to acknowledge our Bronco faithful back in Idaho and thank them for everything that they do for us. I personally like to thank our players and our coaches for being such great competitors, but also more importantly, just great people. Thank you.
I think that Boise State's win in the Fiesta Bowl could alter the landscape of college football and change the way that people look at the BCS and change the way people look at a possible playoff solution.
Oh, you guys are great. You've done it all. You've arrived. No, we haven't. We're back to square one. This is a new team, a new experience, and so it is a very slippery slope and a fine line that we walk with all this stuff because we want to use it as a confidence builder. We want to parlay that into further successes, but if you don't approach it correctly, it can have a negative effect.
I finally grew up and accepted my mistakes and what I had done and came down here and talked to Coach Pete, and that was good. It was really good for me because it got me back to where I needed to be.
I would not go back and change that 2005 season because that taught me everything that I know right now.
If you put one name on what people thought about that Fiesta Bowl, it's Jared wins. Jared wins in life, I mean, that's what it was more than anything else.
When I come back, whether it's hopefully on the NFL team and watch these guys play or whatever it is that I'm doing, I want them to, V's, taught me more about myself or, just V's taught me something.
When I go out there next year and we're winning games and things like that, all those guys can look back at it and be like, look, part of who we were and what we brought to the program is definitely still there.
Bye.